And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Tonight's weather again showing the next front pushing slowly in along the west coast here with the main low center, 992 millibars, pulling up just west of the Bering Strait there. And those south winds becoming more west-southwest as this front passes through, and eventually more west-northwest and lighter for St. Lawrence Island, with some light precipitation extending down toward the eastern Aleutians, spreading into Togiak Bay. Dry over the central and eastern interior. Those showers really tapering off here over on the east side, and even drying out over the northern panhandle as this system slides off to the southeast there. And for tomorrow, still some showers around the southeast coast there with mostly cloudy skies, some clearing though possible. East side stays dry, light rain pushing into the central interior, periods of rain all the way back into the northern Bering Sea up to the western Arctic coast, dry over the southern Bering Sea and the Aleutians. And then for Wednesday, high pressure out here over the western Bering produces kind of a northwest wind flow, not too strong at all, but some showers along the southwest coast. All of interior Alaska, cloudy skies, areas of rain and showers, drier for Cook Inlet and the Kenai Peninsula area there, and showers for the southeast coast, and scattered showers there, central eastern Arctic coast. Coastal water forecast for the south coast, east winds 15 knots and north to northeast winds at 10 knots for the central coast, west at 10 for the north coast. Light variable winds over the central and northern inside waters. Clarence Strait, southeast at 15, seas 3 feet. And for Stevens Passage, Clarence Strait on, Wednesday. South winds at 10 knots with 2-foot seas, south 15 for Lynn Canal. Light variable winds on the south coast and west-southwest breeze at about 10 knots on the central coast. And winds south to southeast, 15 to 20 knots for the north coast. And for Prince William Sound, North Gulf Coast, Tuesday, light variable winds at 10 knots. Small craft advisories for Cook Inlet, south winds 25 knots. South 20 for Kamishak Bay and the Barren Islands, light southwest breeze at 15. And then small craft advisories here for the western North Gulf Coast, Barren Islands, Kamishak Bay, southern Cook Inlet for west-southwest winds at 25 knots. Northern Cook Inlet, south winds at 20 knots, seas 5 feet. Prince William Sound, south winds 15 knots with 3-foot seas, and the eastern North Gulf Coast, south to southwest at 20. Kodiak Island, small craft advisories, southwesterlies 25 knots tomorrow. Same thing for Bristol Bay. Alaska Peninsula, west-southwest 20 to 25 knots. And for Wednesday, Alaska Peninsula northwest 15 to 20 knots, 3 to 6-foot seas, northwest 25 for Bristol Bay. Kodiak Island, west 20 to 25 knots. And for the eastern Aleutians, west-southwesterlies tomorrow, 15 to 25 knots. Variable winds 10 to 15 knots in the central Aleutians. And west of Adak to Shemya, light variable winds at 10 knots with seas down around 5 feet. And not much change there on Wednesday. Variable winds 10 to 15 knots for the western Aleutians. Adak, Atco over to Unmak Island, variable winds at 10 knots. And Unalaska Island, northwest at 15. And for the southwest coast tomorrow, St. Lawrence Island and Norton Sound, all looking at small craft advisory southwest winds at 25 knots with 5 to 7-foot seas. Small craft advisories for St. Matthew Island, St. George, and St. Paul for westerlies 25 to 30 knots with 10 to 14-foot seas. And for Wednesday, Pribilofs northwest 15 with small craft advisories continuing for St. Matthew Island, the Yukon Delta coast, St. Lawrence Island, and Norton Sound, as well as the Kuskokwim Delta coast, northwest 25 to 30 knots with seas 7 to 10 feet. And for the eastern Boulevard Sea coast tomorrow, east winds 20 to 25 knots, southeast 25 for the central coast, coming down to about 15 here on the west side. Chukchi Sea, south winds 20 to 25 knots, 4 to 5-foot seas. And for the day Wednesday, for the Chukchi Sea, north winds, north to northwest winds 20 to 30 knots, north 15 for the western Arctic coast, and a light east-southeast breeze at 10 to 15 knots there, or at 10 knots for the eastern Arctic coast.